Hello and welcome to another edition of the 5 Star Grand Prix 2025 daily reviews right here on the YouTube channel. I'm your host, as always, Scott E. We are diving into day 6 of the 5 star, this time from Korakuen Hall. Every year, the 5 Star Grand Prix, really any major tournament, wherever the Korakuen Hall show takes place, it's often one of, if not the best shows of the entire tournament. And I'm going to say right now, I think that this show has all the makings to be considered the best show of the 5 star so far in 2025. Yes, we are getting into this one now here. This is day 5. I'm excited. It's funny thinking back to day 1 of this tournament, how long ago that feels. It's like a different tournament now. Everyone has kicked into gear. Obviously, I think there's something to be said about, first night. A lot of things were short, a lot of things didn't have the time that it needed to have, but now we do, and now everyone is crushing it, it feels like. There were a lot of matches on here that made my worth the watch sheet, which I think is, a notable thing just from my point of view. Now, I'm not saying everything on my sheet's the perfect list, but it's what I recommend to all of you. And we're gonna celebrate a lot of these great wrestlers, a lot of these great performances, and really this overall tournament throughout this show. But this was an interesting show. You were missing a number of top stars, no Starlight Kid. Saori's matches did not happen in this tournament. No Natsuko. The list goes on of some of the big time wrestlers in this tournament missing. But I think you saw who they want to highlight moving forward, who they're trying to highlight moving forward. And then, of course, you had Sayaka Kamitani on the show in the main event as well. They'll be returning to Corkin for the playoffs aspect of this tournament. So 2 weeks from today, we will be back for that. But like I said, I'm pumped. I really like this. But before we get to that, I just ask you all, if you're on the YouTube channel, go check out everything we've been doing. You go all the way back to day 1 if you're just starting. Day 2's up, day 3's up. Day 1 of the Dream Star Grand Prix is up. Day 2 of the Dream Star Grand Prix is up in terms of daily reviews. All these are up, but you can also check out day 4 and day 5 from this very tournament. Because I've been doing the work, I've been putting in the work, and hopefully you've all been enjoying it. But like I said, I think this might have been my favorite day of the tournament thus far. The work put into these videos, I know I've received a lot of nice comments, so I appreciate it. If you're getting into it now, if you're getting into 3 days time, 4 days time, I get it. It's a grueling time here in the tournament, but I absolutely love doing it. So, without further ado, let's get into day 6 of the 5 Star Grand Prix. Like I said, we had a little bit of both on this show. We had some blue stars, we had some red stars, 5 and 5 from combined from each of the blocks, and it turned out to be a really good show. And it all started off with Rana Yagami versus Momo Watanabe, with Momo Watanabe getting the victory over the young junior wrestler Rana. Um, this match was a fine opener, I thought, and perhaps the biggest takeaway, perhaps the biggest talking point of this match isn't necessarily the match itself, but the winner. Momo Watanabe moved to 4-0 with the victory. This is coming off a year where she went 0-4 to start off last year. So different reality as she storms into her match with Saori in not this weekend, but the weekend after. I think that's a big part of this. I think there's a real chance she goes into that undefeated. I think that's kind of the goal here, and we'll obviously wait and see. But overall, I thought this match was a fun opener, trading kicks. Really Momo kind of having her way with Rana Yagami, but Rana's really good at fighting back. She worked to the arm of Momo, working the arm and trying to get the arm bar on. But at one point, the Momo onslaught just kicks in. The Momo Watanabe offense is too much to handle. She hit Rana with a big time head kick right to the head and then got in the chicken wing and tapped her out. So this is the second time she's used that move to get a victory in this year's 5-star Grand Prix, doing so also against Momo Kogo on opening night. So I think that's notable. We're creating moments, we're creating important moments for Momo Watanabe as she runs through this tournament. But hey, I'm all for Momo Watanabe being off to a strong start. It's what it's all about. And honestly, sitting at 4-0, I'm excited for her potential playoff unless she drops all of her matches from here, which would be a real bummer. So I hope that's not the case. But a fine opener here. It's really when we move forward that the show really picks up. I thought this was the best match of Bea Priestley's tournament thus far. And I said this on Twitter, I'll say it again. Mei Seira is fantastic. She's just an incredible, incredible wrestler, incredible worker, someone who I feel like, despite being a high speed wrestler, can utilize her high speed to make any match against any type of opponent better. Her and Bea Priestley couldn't be further from the same wrestler. Like, they are just completely different, but the match worked. The match worked. I really thought this was the best showing for B because one, May is willing to sell and sell and sell and bring the pace and bring the excitement. Something that I think, honestly, B's matches have been missing. It's been missing that excitement level or that fast pace. Sometimes she kind of really slows it down. It's hard to slow Mei Seira down. She just kind of keeps going and going and going. That's why she's the high speed champion. And I thought she had a really, really strong performance here. There was a point where she's on the ropes and B just clubs her to the outside, making her fall and crash down there. B was having her heel moments. Again, this is one of the talking points, I think, for Bea Priestley in this tournament. She doesn't know if she's a heel or a face. You can see it as you watch her. She doesn't fully know what's her role. What role are we playing here? And I think the more she gets into the heel side, the better of a fit it is, the better and more natural it is. So that helped Mei Seira, on the other hand, come over. But the crowd likes her. Like some Stardom fans do like her. So it's a very fascinating offset. But at one point, she crushed May with another big forearm. I literally wrote in my notes here, which is if I'm staring down, that's what I'm reading. Literally wrote in my notes here. Mei Seira is so good. That is what I wrote. Good back and forth between the two. Um, at one point, B hit this great looking like brain buster driver type thing. It was like a sit out brain buster type. It kind of looks like Sia's Star Crusher, but more in the brain buster style. There's definitely a move for that I can't think of right now, but it looks great. But ultimately, after trading near falls, Mei Seira got her signature roll up to get the victory and steal the win from Bea Priestley, who might have been the favorite, obviously, as the former World of Stardom champion heading into this match. But I was very happy to see that for Mei Seira, getting the major win, getting the important win, and moving to 7 points. She's in a great spot right now. She's staying at the top of Red A. She's currently in second. We need her to stay there. We want her to make it through. I also just want to shout out my guy Walker Stewart, obviously, who has been on the channel before. I think Walker did an incredible job tonight. Obviously Walker's been calling the G1 every single show, right? But kind of swooping in to get in this one live Stardom show was really, really cool. And calling majority of the matches by himself can be a tough task. So I just wanted to shout him out. I think Walker's fantastic. And I think Walker is showing a real care for Stardom, which is obviously very appreciated by myself and many, many others. If I could find my mouse, we go on to the next one. Anyways, the next match was Yuna Mizumori versus Azusa Inaba. This might be the first match in the entire tournament. Well, that's not true. This might be the first match on the undercard in the tournament where I said, why did it have to stop? Yuna Mizumori and Azusa Inaba came out the box going. They were fighting. They were having a real match. Like, this was what Azusa was doing for so much of really the lead up in much of this year, right? Having these really exciting, cool matches. And so much of the time, it was hard to fully appreciate because it didn't last long. This match only went 2 minutes and 12 seconds, but it was awesome for what it was. Just back and forth, taking massive forearms, trading forearms, and ultimately in the end, Azusa Inaba gets the shock win, pinning Yuna Mizumori and moving forward. So I think that was kind of an interesting pathway to do this match. But yeah, if they could have got like 5, 6, 7 minutes, honestly, this could have broke into like one of the great middle of the league type tournament matches. And I think that's kind of the bummer here that it didn't get to that point. But for what they got, for what the time they got, it was really exciting. It was really fun. I just wish, honestly, they got some more time, maybe elsewhere, took a little less off. And then Anou Sohrei versus Ruaka, and I think this is kind of where the show picks up. Um, Honestly, like I said, the show for the most part was really, really good. But Ami Sohrei, listen. I'm gonna keep bringing this up because I think it's only right that I laugh at myself at times like this. I was not an Ami Sohrei fan during her first stint or run in Stardom, and I think the pieces were always there, right? The big lariats, the chops, power, all these different things to be a great wrestler. It just never was always coming together. You fast forward to now, post injury, she has unlocked so much. She has unlocked so much. She is so much more confident in there and believing in her own abilities. And I think you're just seeing it each and every match. I am an Ami Sohrei fan now. She has won me completely over. I look forward to her matches. Her versus Bozilla is one of the most hyped matches left in this tournament, after all. But her and Ruaka went out there and they crushed it. This was a lot of fun. Like, again, there are matches on the show that surpass it. But for this point in this show, it was the perfect next step, per se. They were using their power against one another. I wrote powerhouse because they were just both showcasing their power. I think people can forget because of the heel tactics, because of all these different things. I think people can forget how truly great Ruaka can be. It's not going to be every match, it's not going to be every show, but I think Ruaka is a good wrestler. There's a reason I had belief that her winning the Cinderella tournament this year wasn't that crazy. And it's showings like this that kind of reminds you, oh, there is something there for Ruaka. Ultimately, she hit Ami Sohrei hit a superplex and then a devastating lariat but that was kicked out. Ruaka comes back around, tosses. When I say tosses, I mean tosses the box at Ami Sorei's face, absolutely crushing her, absolutely taking her out. That was a great spot. She did hit the refrigerator bomb on to Ami, but she kicked out. A great kick out spot, a great near fall here in this match. But Ruaka didn't stop there. I thought, okay, now Ami Sohrei is going to clean this match up and win. Instead, Ruaka got a cross arm straight jacket, German suplex, planting Ami high on her neck, high on her head, and winning, defeating Ami Sohrei and shocking everyone. Ami had been undefeated heading into this match, but instead she goes crashing down, and now she'll have to rebuild. And for Ruaka, it's a big time win. It's going to be her biggest win, I'm sure, of the tournament. But hey, shouts out to Ruaka. This match was a lot of fun. Just missing my worth the watch list, but honestly, I would recommend it. I think it was a ton of fun. You then have one of the best matches of the tournament. Yes, that is right. Sayaka, Kurara versus Natsuko Tora. Listen, when I was watching this show, when before this even started, I said to myself, this card has so many matches I could walk away saying that's my match of the tournament. I just think this show has the potential. And when I watched this match, I never even considered this one in that conversation. That speaks to what Sayaka Kurara is learning and growing through this tournament. I've been talking about it throughout these videos. I think she's making necessary steps for her overall growth. And this match was the ultimate showing of that. And on the other hand, you have Natsuko Tora, who's really locked in and I think having really her best mini run in quite some time. It was all a perfect combination. It was all what you wanted to see. It was everything you could have asked for out of these two wrestlers. I think that's honestly why I really loved this match because it played to the underdog David versus Goliath story so perfectly. The match started off hot. Kurara, Tora going back and forth. And I think back to Kurara's first Cinderella tournament. You know, she had gotten the upset over Tora, and it was a DQ or something. But there's history here. And I like to think back to those moments because you fast forward, right? You come back and you see what does it look like in this occasion. And I think when it comes to Kurara, she has just advanced so much. And obviously, like I've had my ups and downs with her throughout the year, but this tournament is showing, the potential that obviously Stardom sees in her. And this match and her and Korakuen is always a good use of that. At one point, Tora hit the diving splash that she's won matches with in this tournament, and pretty early, mind you. But Kurara kicked out. That was a great moment, a great spot in the match that they built to. And that's kind of where we got the great sleeper hold done by Kurara to try and even the odds and get back in the fight. I had talked about it literally like 2 or 3 matches ago for Kurara where, that sometimes can put a pause to great momentum in her matches. This was the perfect usage. This was exactly what you want to do. You're slowing down Tora. Tora's, you know, fading and fading and fading, and they had a great sell, where Tora just got her foot on the rope. It was a great spot. Crowd was super into it. Uh, when Kurara goes for her spear, she's met with a Tora spear that absolutely broke her in half. An incredible, incredible spot. Absolutely lost her for that one. She then hit a cannonball. Tora hit a cannonball on Kurara, but there was another kick out. So she goes for the swanton and misses, and that's where Kurara has her final leap of faith. She hits violet, uh, the violet knee that Tam used to hit. She hits a spear, but Tora kicks out at 1. Get another near fall on a great pin, but ultimately that's all for naught. Kurara gets hit with a DVD Death Valley driver, but she kicks out 1 last time. Tora hits the swanton and gets the win. If Sayaka Kurara won this match, I think it might have been my match of the tournament. It was just building to that. It had all the belief in that, and ultimately it just came up short in that. I think the belief in her winning was worth it. Kurara's had a fascinating tournament. She's already out. She's officially been eliminated. And I think that is stunning in many ways because of one, winning the Cinderella tournament, two, challenging for the title. I mean, obviously above her is Natsuko, Starlight Kid, Azumi, Rina, and Tora. But I don't know. Being eliminated so early just feels odd. But that is the case. She was officially eliminated with the loss. But what a match to have. And I look forward to seeing Kurara continue to grow moving forward. Then we had Suzuki versus Hanako. This I thought was the worst match on the show. I think the build to the double countout, which wasn't really a double countout, was the problem. It just never felt like the match I think they wanted it to be. And I don't know why these two need to draw. We're at a point so far in this tournament where, yes, Suzuki's tied for second, but she has to face Saori this weekend. That's probably going to be a loss. It should be a loss. And at that point, does she even get in? Does she even get into the top 3? It becomes close. It becomes dicey, and this is going to be an important part of that. There was just too much outside work. Like, one thing that was brought up on commentary a few times, like, a lot of these matches are going to the outside, getting thrown through chairs. And we talked about that last time. And this was a lot of that. Like, they had a little bit in the ring, back and forth, trading, whatever. But then they kind of just traveled into the front of Korakuen. And then, Hanako got taken out and Suzu had to run back. And she got there too soon and tripped, and they tried to sell it as she wasn't in though she was clearly rolled into the ring and they said draw. It was not a good double countout. The drama lacked there. It took so much away from the match that you can't that it there's no reason to put much more focus onto the rest of the match in my opinion because that was just so like okay, sure. But yeah, that's that honestly. Uh Less said the better. It was the weakest match on the show. We then had Hina versus Konami. Konami's luck since opening night when she made Saori go to sleep is not going well because she lost again. This time to the future of Stardom champion Hina, who got her first win of the tournament in a very solid match. You know, nothing to write home about necessarily, but a solid fundamental match between two good wrestlers. I think Hina's waiting for the breakout match. You know, the match with Saori probably was that, you know, fantastic fight from her in her hometown and all that big main event. But I think she's looking for that breakout match of like, wow, that's like match of the tournament level. And I think she's just still a step below that, but that's okay because she got a win here. Konami hit the Hoshiki kick from the top at one point. That was a good one. And ultimately, like I said, Hina got the clutch to get the victory, so kind of steal the victory from Konami, not a big time win. It's really weird watching Hina in this tournament for me, and I don't know if this is just a me thing. But she is someone who obviously dominates in her future Stardom Championship matches, right? She dominates in all these different types of matches, and now she's in this tournament. She's not facing future Stardom competitors type. So for her, she is the underdog every time. And I think it gives and it takes, but I think she's so good in that future Stardom role that she's found that it's almost upsetting to see her get dominated and destroyed every match and have to do the underdog fight. I don't know. I think she's found her niche as a wrestler who fights on top rather than from underneath. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with the Hina tournament. Still good, still solid, but that's kind of where I'm at. And Konami was fine, Konami's doing her job. She still has one of my favorite matches of the tournament. So shouts out to her. Then we get to the final three. I think the final three was the strongest three match span in the entire tournament so far. It starts with Saori versus Bozilla. The match ended in a 15-minute draw, but the way we got there was so exciting. Now, yes, we returned outside of the ring once again, but this was fun. I like when we go and, go to the sign. That's a signature Stardom move, signature Joshi move at this point, really. Smashing the people's heads off off the sign in the stands. That's always great. Sayori brought a hell of a fight in this match. She was not worried about facing Bozilla. She was welcoming the fight to Bozilla. And what I love about tournament Sayori is she kind of just has this mindset of like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put on a show, and you are going to do it with me, no matter who her opponent is. She's having another great tournament, man. I look forward to her matches every single night. She's one of my favorites. And on the other hand, I thought this was Bozilla's second best match since joining Stardom, just a level below the AZM one, but really, really good. These two had good chemistry. I walked away from being like, let's do that again. And I think that's kind of like the big win. If you can do that and come back to a match and say, let's do that again, it's great. Sayori found different ways to break down Bozilla, dragon screw. They even traded forearms at one point, which I thought was cool. We got a great sleeper hold spot from Sayori trying to tire Bozilla, get her down. Ultimately, in the final, 5-minute stretch or so, we get all of these different tradings, and we're like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Sayori gets a pottering on Bozilla, but she in almost in a way over rotated on Bozilla, allowing Bozilla to kick out and just barely survive. That was a great spot. Then they trade German. So Sayori hits the big German suplex, right? She had built it throughout to the match. And then Bozilla gets up and launches Sayori. That was terrifying. I literally wrote, good God. In the closing seconds, Bozilla hits the running power bomb, running sit out power bomb. 1, 2, time runs out. So you saw it. The visual pin was there. Bozilla had the victory in her hands, but time runs out and they both get a point apiece. Fantastically done. Fantastically done. Can't give enough compliments for what they accomplished. Fantastically done. But from there, we go to my match of the tournament thus far. Excuse me. This match was awesome. And I'll just keep saying it. Rina's the best. Rina's the best. Listen, if you listen to the Five Star Joe show, I said it months ago that once Mayu left Stardom, Rina was my new favorite Stardom wrestler. Boy, oh boy, was I right with that. So bias is in full. But this match was great. Rina now has great matches with Azumi. Match of the year still for me with Starlight Kid. Just fantastic stuff here. Just the continuation of her growth as a wrestler and her ability to go from point A to point B to point C and mold together a match that's so exciting, so inviting, and makes all the sense in the world. Again, this is a wrestler who's still very new, but at the same time a veteran in her own right, but just finally getting the push and being and proving she's beyond ready for that push. And I have to give credit to Azumi too. That's only right. Azumi is the vet of this match, and Reno was able to go to the Azumi pace. I think what makes this match better to me than the Starlight Kid match, for example, which had been Azumi's best match, I thought, to this point, was the back and forth, was the fight between the two, and was just the ability to do these new different things that were so inviting and so exciting. I think that's why I loved it so much. Um, Azumi, the match opened with Rina hitting a big time drop kick. I literally wrote again, Rina is the best in this. Just a great pace back and forth. Azumi had gotten the upper hand, but it was taken right back with a judo throw by Rina, which was perfect. She got the hydrangea on multiple times in this match, including in the closing stretch, which was great. She hit the double double, as I call it. The double double is the middle rope knees and then the top rope knees. That is now the double double. She got the double double near fall. They had this great spot. So much of this tournament for Rina has been hitting that gory bomb, right? That has been the end in all her matches. That's how she went 4-0. So we teased the gory bomb, but Azumi gets a great sunset flip power bomb type to get a near fall. Then Azumi is wringing poor Rina's arms. Brutal arm bars, going for that numero uno, but Rina's able to get out of it and just barely survive. But Azumi gets back on the high ground. She hits the double foot stomp for a near fall. That's when Rina comes back with the hydrangea for a great back and forth. And maybe my favorite back and forth was, she went for this she kicked out of the Azumi sushi, which is always a great spot. And at this point, I just kind of got lost. I stopped writing notes. I just kind of scribbled. And it just got so real. The back and forth, trying to figure out how to win. She goes for the gory bomb again, but that's reversed into an Azumi destroyer and then hit with the Azumi sushi for the win, leading to Rina's first loss in the tournament. She now drops to 4-1 with 8 points, while Azumi climbs to 7 points in the tournament, one back of first place in Red Stars B. Like I said, the match was fantastic. Awesome stuff. It's my personal match of the tournament. It's going to be under the great column at the end of this, but just awesome, man. Like, I can't say enough good things about Rina. She is the future of Stardom. She is the president of Stardom. She could be Wonder Stardom champion tomorrow, and I think she should. I said it last time. Like, why don't you just have her win the whole thing and challenge for the Wonder? Um, I think she's got to be the one to take the belt off of Starlight Kid. I don't even think that's up for debate anymore. Just personally. But just a fantastic showing from these two. It was Azumi at her best, Rina at her best. I just think the best match in the tournament so far. And that brought us to a great main event and one of the big time matches really of the entire tournament, right? When you saw the blocks come out, I think Hanan versus Saya Kamitani was one of the ones you circled. You know, there is a story developing here. When Saya Kamitani retired Tam Nakano in her first interview, she said, and I quote, Hanan is the babyface. Hanan is the next babyface to fall to watch. And that is in many ways, I think what Stardom 2 is telling you. Stardom is 2 making you focus on is that Hanan is next up. Hanan's going to make it to the finals of this year's tournament, maybe lose to Ami Sohrei, but she is next up. And this match was again to try and prove, is she next up? I don't know if the match had me walk away saying, yeah, I think Hanan should be your next World of Stardom champion. I don't think it accomplished that necessarily, but she can be in that main event match. Um, this match was great. This match was great. Great. As you kind of expect. Saya Kamitani's first true big match in the tournament, right? I really liked her Azusa Inaba match. But her first big match in the tournament, right in the main event. And these two brought it, you know, at the very beginning. Hana took a similar apron bump that Saida had taken against Ami Sohrei earlier in the tournament. Saya Kamitani even broke out the chain that she used on Tam Nakano. So obviously trying to maybe give some insight of, hey, this is kind of maybe our next rivalry. Maybe that's what we're hoping for here. I thought that was interesting. But she was just destroying Hanan. Hanan had no answers. But finally, we got back into it. Hanan starts working back. She suplexed Saya Kamitani out of the ring. That's kind of where she got her momentum. At one point, she hits the cutie special for a good near fall. Picture perfect cutie special. But we bounce back into the ring. We get to the top rope. A top rope Frankensteiner from Saya Kamitani to again get back in the lead. At one point, I just yelled "Ra." I didn't have anything else to write. But Hanan kept fighting and kept fighting, kept fighting, was resilient and fight and fight and fight. This match was fantastic. If this is your match of the tournament, I would not blame you. I thought it was fantastic. Um, Backdrop driver. She drops Saya Kamitani on the top of her neck. Brutal, brutal, brutal. That's the finish. That's the one that has got the job done for Hanan so many times. But Saya Kamitani kicks out. And in the end, Saya Kamitani is able to hit the Star Crusher after looking to already have had Hanan won. Right? Hanan's planted on the ground. She lifts her up. She picks up for the Star Crusher, pins her 1, 2, 3 to prove that Saya Kamitani is the dominant almighty force in this tournament, but also Han's just not ready yet. And I think that's the interesting aspect of this match. But an awesome, awesome match. A fantastic show from top to bottom. One of my favorites. Actually, it is my favorite. It is my favorite show so far. Just the last 3 matches alone make sure of that. But a fantastic last two. Just so much good from this show. And the 5 stars in full swing. We are on a great pace here. We have a great weekend ahead, which I'm very excited for. But with that, you know how it goes. Let's look at the worth the watch list here. So in the great column, you have Saori versus Konami from day 1 of the 5-star Grand Prix. Then you have Mei Seira versus Hanan from day 4. AZM versus Rina from this very day. That's my favorite of the tournament thus far. Then you have Saya Kamitani versus Hanan as well. So that's 2 for Hanan in the great column. Shouts out. Then in the very good, you have Saya Kamitani versus Azusa Inaba from day 4. You have Suzuki versus Momo Watanabe from day 5. Saori versus Hina from day 5. Rina versus Tomoki Inaba from day 5. Natsuko Tora versus Sayaka Kurara from day 6. And Anou versus Bozilla from day 6. And then under the good column, you have Saida versus Sariano from day 1. You have Tomoki Inaba versus Starlight Kid from day 1. You have Saori versus Rana Yagami from day 3. You have Ami Sohrei versus Saida from day 3. You have Natsuko versus Tomoki Inaba from day 4. You have AZM versus Starlight Kid from day 4. And you have Saori versus Ami Sohrei from day 5. For those wondering if this is your first time tuning in or not, this week's 5-star Joshi show is mostly going to be MP3 only. I'm going to cut a bunch of these together and put them into a video or into audio for the podcast feed. So I'm going to cut some of my favorite moments from my favorite matches, some of my favorite reviews, and that will be the podcast for this week. But let's get to those stats As always, brought to us by Peps. We shout out Peps every time. Thank you for putting this together. So, in the Blue Stars A block, Sohrei leads with 6 points, but she is tied with Bozilla, who also has 6 points. Sariano is 1 point behind at 5, while Ruaka sits at 3. Aya Sakura, Miyu Amasaki, Sayaka all at 2, and Yorihime sits at the bottom with 0. Momo Watanabe sits atop Blue Stars B all alone with 3 points difference from everyone else, with a 4-0, 8-point record. Hanako sits at 5, along with Suzuki, who's also at 5. Saori sits at 4 at 2-1. Hina, Konami, and Rana Yagami all with 2 points apiece. And Momokogo sits at the bottom with 0. Saya Kamitani with the win brought her to an undefeated 5-0, 10-point, and advancement into the next round of the 5-star Grand Prix, so the World of Stardom Champion. My pick, by the way, right here on the YouTube channel, I picked Saya to win the whole thing. She continues to run through her opponents. Mei Seira sits in second with 7 points. Bea Priestley at 6. Hanan at 5, Azusa Inaba and Lady C at 4, Yuna Mizumori at 2, and Waka Tsukiyama officially eliminated with 0. Then you have Natsuko, Tora, and Rina at the top of Red Stars B with 8 apiece. You have AZM with 7, Starlight Kid with 5, Natsuko with 4, Sayaka Kurara and Tomoki Naba with 2, and Rina officially eliminated as well, along with Sayaka Kurara. So the Cinderella tournament winner already eliminated from the tournament. In terms of match times, Rina has the most overall match time so far, with Sayaka Kurara right behind her. Obviously, some wrestlers have only wrestled a handful of matches, so this will not be the ending. But the longest in ring remains to be Starlight Kid at 12:29 per match, with Saori right behind her at 12:21. But that is it. Otherwise, let's look real quick at the MVPs, as we often like to do. The MVP list is heating up, I'd say. I think we are kind of having a good run with this. I really like where we are with the or the MVP of the tournament thus far. So to look at Red Stars A, you have Saya Kamitani leading at a 2.95. Look at Red Stars B, you have Tomoki Inaba still at the lead with the 3.50, but Rina's right behind her with a 3.40. Then on Blue Stars A, it remains to be Saori Anou at 3.33, with Saida at 3.25. And then in the Blue Stars B block, I still have Saori way ahead of the competition at 3.75. So that's your MVP race thus far. It is an exciting MVP race. It's still wide open with so many matches left to go. I'm quite excited, and I hope you are too. With that being said, thank you everyone for joining me for day 6 of the 5-star Grand Prix review series. I appreciate everyone that continues to tune in and take part and watch along with me. It means the world. I hope you've enjoyed it all. Like I said, if you want to check out the 5-star Joshi show this week, we'll have a bunch of clips from the past couple morphed together. That'll be the main show, as I just don't have the time to record a full episode. Maybe I'll have a little extra on there though. But please make sure to go check all that out. We'll be back on Saturday with the next 5-star Grand Prix review. That'll be day 7. And then late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, will be the day 3 review for the Dream Star Grand Prix. Then on Sunday, we'll do a doubleheader once again. It will be Stardom and Marigold tournaments going head to head. So we'll have 2 reviews for that. And then on Monday, I believe Stardom is also running a show, so we'll have a review up for that. For those wondering, the next review will be from Kyoto. It'll be Saida versus Miyu Amasaki, Soriano versus Ruaka, Yorihime versus Ami Sohrei, Aya Sakura versus Bozilla, Momo Watanabe versus Hanako, Hina versus Rana Yagami, Momokogo versus Konami, and Saori versus Suzuki, one of the most anticipated matches of the tournament. So with that, I thank you all for joining me. I thank you all for listening. It means the world. The continued support, the continued comments. Please leave a comment at the bottom if you have any thoughts on this overall tournament or this show. How much did you enjoy this show? I love to hear it. I love to read it. So please, please, please leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know what your favorite match of the tournament has been so far. Until next time, everyone. So long. See you later.